Good afternoon, everybody. It is September 24th, 2025, and I want to talk about a fascinating new development we are seeing in the world, which I'm calling the Scramble for India. First off, welcome to the new subscribers. Thank you for watching and subscribing, and I hope that everyone watching this video will enjoy it. Please hit the like button, and please certainly hit the subscribe button. Okay, on to the topic, the Scramble for India. So something really interesting has occurred over the last few weeks. Namely that the Trump administration is putting a $100,000 essentially price tag on H-1B visas. H-1B visas used to cost around $6,000, something like that. They're now going to cost $100,000. H-1B visas are how American companies effectively import workers from other countries. By far and away, the number one country that we import workers from using that program is India. I mean, it's something like 3/4 of all the H-1B visas go to Indians. Putting this new amount, increasing the cost of the visa by a factor of around 20 or so, is obviously going to dramatically reduce the number of Indians coming to the United States on H-1B visas. Now, of course, there's a question, how many carve-outs will Trump have? How many big companies will show up at the White House? They'll give him a gift. They'll announce $500 billion of investment. And then Trump will say, okay, your company gets a carve-out and you don't have to pay the $100,000 or whatever. By the way, just so you know, that the gifts that Trump gets will be real. The $500 or $600 billion investments will not be real. That'll just be an announcement. Nothing more. It's a press release. So I don't know if this will actually have the impact that everyone thinks it will, but assuming there are not substantial changes to it, it will dramatically reduce the number of Indian immigrants coming to the United States. Here's where it gets really interesting. All around the world, many countries, Germany, Japan, South Korea, Italy, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, China, Russia, you name it, all have the same problem. They're running out of young workers. I mean, I understand they may have millions, but as a percentage, or as in terms of the numbers that they need, they do not have anywhere near enough. They have serious shortages. And in countries like Germany or Japan, this is hitting chronic levels. Russia is in just unbelievably bad shape. China is in rough shape, but it is worsening very quickly. China's actually, like today, not as bad as a lot of these other countries are, but it is getting worse for them much faster than most of the others. Same kind of story for South Korea. Canada is another country very much has this problem. Many others have this problem as well. Turkey will be joining them shortly, so will Brazil. Iran has this problem. Now, not all to the same scale. They're at different scales, and their problems are getting worse. They're all getting worse, but at different rates. But nonetheless, if you are a government and you're saying we have a problem, we do not have enough young, educated, motivated workers who are affordable, there's one place you can go that has them and has them at scale, and that is India. The problem for them has been all the capacity that India had, all the sort of surplus of highly educated, hardworking young people. The United States really got the cream of the crop from that. We pretty much got all the ones that we wanted. We tend to get all the best of that. Well, now the Trump administration has stopped that. So that population of young, educated Indians is now in play on a global basis, and a scramble has broken out. Russia's talking about bringing in 1 million of them. Japan's talking about bringing in 500,000 of them. Olaf Scholz, the former head of the German government, was out doing a video announcement just in the last few days saying, Indians, please come to Germany to work here. Other countries, the United Kingdom's trying to import more. Canada's trying to import more. I haven't checked on South Korea, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're in on it. And even the countries that aren't, like to my knowledge, I don't think Brazil's doing that right now. They're going to get in on this sooner or later. So that's the first reason there's a scramble for it. It's all of a sudden this supply has become available. There's a second reason why there's a scramble for it. India's economy is booming. They've had very strong growth for many years in a row now, other than the COVID pandemic year where they took a pretty nasty hit. But other than that, you go back to like the mid-2010s and stuff, they're churning out, 5, 6, 7, 8% growth a year. It obviously varies year to year. Right now, they're doing about 6.5% growth. So what that means is that the domestic demand for skilled Indian labor is rapidly increasing. Wages are rising, standards of living are rising. So if you want to compete with that, you're another country and you want to get these, educated young Indians, you need to do it now because their opportunities at home are steadily getting better and better, which means over time, it's going to get more and more expensive to lure them away from India into whatever country you want them to. The third reason this is a scramble is because the Indian birth rate has collapsed. It's not totally horrible right now, but to give you an idea, in 2000, it was well over 3. It is now slightly less than 2. They've lost more than a third of their fertility in 25 years, and it is trending downward. It is going to get smaller and smaller. The other thing is, if you look at the Indian population, their 25 to 29 cohort is really big. There are fewer 20 to 24-year-olds, and they're all 25 to 29-year-olds. Then there's fewer 15 to 19-year-olds after that, and then even fewer 10 to 14-year-olds, and even fewer 5 to 10-year-olds, and even fewer 0 to 5-year-olds. What this means is each 5-year block is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So the supply is already at peak right now. So the supply is as big as it's ever going to get. It is only going to get smaller from here. The cost, the domestic demand for the labor is doing nothing but going up, meaning the domestic, how do I say this? The price you have to pay to compete with domestic demand is as low as it's ever going to be. It's only going to go up. And because not every country is in on the scramble right now, although several major ones have gotten in recently, the international demand is about as cheap as it's going to get. Here's the final reason. If and when Trump decides to put in a bunch of carve-outs for H-1B visas to allow big American companies to import more Indian workers, then you have to compete with those big American companies. You have to compete with Amazon and Meta and Google and all of those kind of, Apple, all those kind of countries who can pay a lot of money. So right now, if you are, again, one of these governments, the supply is as big as it's ever going to get, the price is as low as it's ever going to go, and everything is only going to get worse from here. Your need, by the way, in all of these countries that need them, their needs are only going to get bigger with time, not smaller. And so their demand is going to go up, the supply is going to go down, and the price pressure from the domestic Indian economy is only going to push the cost of labor higher and higher. Here's the final reason why it's a scramble, why this is all happening so fast. India is the last, the last barrel that you can draw from of educated talent for young people who are willing to move, that you can do at scale. You can always find somebody from Germany or somebody from Australia or somebody from Mexico. But if you need it at scale, India is the only one left. And they're going to phase out of this within 20 years. And after that, there is nobody else. There's nothing coming on the horizon. Sub-Saharan Africa will not serve as a replacement for this. There's a lot of reasons for that. That's a different topic. But nonetheless, once India is tapped, which will be tapped sometime in the next 15 to 20 years, tapped out, that's it. No more. At that point, you have to pay top dollar for whatever little bits and pieces of educated young labor aren't already spoken for, and there will be damn little of that available. So what you're going to see over the next 5 years is a major scramble from the world's great economies to try to get as many young educated Indians as they can, while they can afford it, while they're still there to be gotten. After 5 years, the prices are going to be skyrocketing. It's still going to be happening, but a lot of countries are just simply going to get priced out of the market. You hit around somewhere between 15 and 20 years from now, there's just not going to be a market anymore, not at scale anyway, because there's just not going to be enough of them left. So this scramble for India is going to be a hot topic the next few years, and whatever country you're in, your government better get them now, because get them while the getting's good. They ain't going to be around much longer.